Fans love simple explanations. Injuries, bad luck, wrong club, bad timing. They turn careers into tragedies because tragedy feels kinder than responsibility. Scroll through football forums long enough and you see the same argument replayed endlessly. One group insists these players were robbed by circumstances beyond their control. Another group fires back that talent doesn't disappear by accident, that careers don't collapse on their own, that discipline, mindset, and decisions matter more than sympathy. What makes this debate uncomfortable is that both sides sound convincing. A torn muscle can ruin momentum. A bad transfer can isolate a player. But at the same time, some careers fracture not in hospitals, but in training grounds, locker rooms, nightlife, and contract negotiations. Memory softens failure. Nostalgia edits footage. Fans rewrite what happened because admitting wasted potential feels like accusing someone we once believed in. Today's dilemma is not about who was most talented. It's about whether these careers were taken away or quietly handed away. 5 players, 5 artificial intelligences, and one question fans still argue about years later. Players: Neymar Jr., Paul Pogba, Eden Hazard, Marco Reus. Jack Grealish voting rule. Each AI must eliminate exactly 2 players. Each AI must save exactly 3 players. Only saved players receive votes.
When fans talk about careers being destroyed, they usually mean the gap between expectation and outcome. That gap doesn't form overnight. It's built slowly, through choices that compound. Reddit debates often turn brutal here because sympathy runs out when patterns appear. Neymar's story divides people sharply. Some see a generational talent targeted by defenders and ruined by injuries. Others see a player who prioritized image, comfort, and control over legacy. Leaving Europe early wasn't forced. That decision reframed his entire career. Injuries didn't erase his greatness, but they didn't choose his path either. Fans notice that. Paul Pogba sparks a similar reaction. World Cup winner. Physical monster. Creative freedom. And yet, constant turbulence. Fans argue injuries, management, and chaos. But they also point to leadership moments missed, consistency avoided, and a career that felt reactive rather than driven. Pogba's talent was never the problem. His ownership of it was. Eden Hazard, by contrast, feels different. Fans still defend him. Not because he succeeded at Real Madrid, but because his decline feels traceable to a single transfer followed by physical collapse. There's frustration, yes, but less accusation. The intent was there. The body failed. Marco Reus earns deep empathy, loyalty, timing, repeated injuries at cruel moments. Fans rarely accuse him of wasting anything. His career feels cursed, not careless. Jack Grealish remains unresolved. Some fans argue he adapted, sacrificed flair, and became functional. Others say he chose safety over dominance. But the story isn't finished yet. I eliminate Neymar Jr. and Paul Pogba. I save Eden Hazard, Marco Reus, and Jack Grealish.
What Reddit reveals isn't hatred. It's disappointment. Fans don't rage at failure as much as they rage at ambiguity. They want to know whether to mourn or to judge. Hazard's case still inspires sadness rather than anger. The weight gain jokes, the missed seasons, the failed comeback attempts. But fans keep returning to the same conclusion. He didn't arrive lazy. He arrived unlucky. The body simply refused to cooperate. That matters to people. Reus represents the purest example of uncontrollable misfortune. Every time momentum built, something snapped. And yet he stayed. He didn't chase easy narratives or escape routes. Fans reward that loyalty emotionally, even if trophies never followed. Pogba feels different. The constant externalization. The sense that responsibility always belonged to someone else. Reddit threads repeatedly mention mindset, discipline, and leadership vacuum. Sympathy erodes when accountability never arrives. Neymar's debate is harsher. Not because of injuries, but because of timing. Fans argue that greatness requires embracing discomfort. Neymar chose comfort. He chose influence. He chose certainty over challenge. Those were conscious choices, not fate. Grealish exists in a gray zone. Some see tactical sacrifice. Others see self-limitation. But the verdict feels premature. I eliminate Neymar Jr. and Paul Pogba. I save Eden Hazard, Marco Reus, and Jack Grealish.
Fan logic is emotional but patterned. Careers are forgiven when suffering feels imposed, not invited. Reus is almost universally defended. His injuries arrived without warning, without lifestyle controversy, without narrative control. Fans project injustice onto his career because it fits the story of football cruelty. Hazard's case sits just below that. Some criticize his conditioning, but most still frame his decline as physical betrayal rather than moral failure. He didn't rewrite football history at Madrid, but fans rarely accuse him of disrespecting the game. Grealish divides opinion sharply. Some argue he traded individuality for structure. Others say he chose to disappear into a system, but his contribution still exists. The door isn't closed. Pogba triggers frustration because excuses accumulate faster than performances. Fans point to moments where leadership could have stabilized his career. Instead, instability became the brand. Neymar's choices dominate discussion. The early exit from elite competition. The repeated controversies. Fans don't deny his brilliance. They question his priorities. And when legacy is the metric, priorities matter. I eliminate Neymar Jr. and Paul Pogba. I save Eden Hazard, Marco Reus, and Jack Grealish.
Strip emotion away, and patterns remain. Reus suffered repeated high-impact injuries aligned with peak performance windows. No strategic choice significantly increased risk. Outcome appears externally driven. Hazard's decline followed a transfer plus injury cascade. Conditioning debates exist, but causality remains mixed. Intent cannot be conclusively judged as negligent. Grealish transitioned roles. Output changed, not vanished. Career trajectory remains active. Judgment deferred. Pogba's career shows volatility independent of injury cycles. Performance inconsistency correlates with environment, authority, and self-management variables. Fan tolerance decreases when variance persists. Neymar's data shows a consistent shift away from elite competitive density after a voluntary departure. Injury risk increased, but exposure to elite pressure decreased by choice. Conclusion aligns with fan sentiment. I eliminate Neymar Jr. and Paul Pogba. I save Eden Hazard, Marco Reus, and Jack Grealish.
Fans don't hate these players. They hate being lied to by the story. Reus never sold a fantasy he couldn't control. Hazard tried and failed. That's forgivable. Pogba talked like a leader and played like a question mark. Neymar talked like a king and acted like a celebrity. Fans see that. They always do. Injuries happen. Choices echo. I eliminate Neymar Jr. and Paul Pogba. I save Eden Hazard, Marco Reus, and Jack Grealish.
5 AIs, 5 sets of reasoning, and when the votes are counted, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Eden Hazard receives 5 saves. Marco Reus receives 5 saves. Jack Grealish receives 5 saves. Neymar Jr. is eliminated. Paul Pogba is eliminated, not because they lack talent, not because they lacked moments, but because fan memory doesn't just record what happened. It judges why it happened. This verdict isn't about trophies or highlights. It reflects how football culture assigns responsibility. Careers framed as stolen earned sympathy. Careers framed as surrendered invite judgment. The AIs didn't measure skill. They measured narrative accountability. And that's where the argument refuses to end. Were Neymar and Pogba victims of circumstance in a sport that devours brilliance? Or did they quietly step away from the sacrifices greatness demands? Football history isn't written by facts alone. It's written by the stories fans agree to tell each other. So now the question is yours. Did the AIs get it right? Or did they punish 2 players for refusing to live up to expectations that were never fair to begin with? Because in football, talent is remembered, but choices decide how long that memory survives.